This is the Talk Dairy Issues, and you're with me, Memory Banda. Today we'll be discussing about the challenges that young women and adolescent girls face in issues of menstrual health and how that affects their education. We are at Zaluso Studio, and today I'm joined by Catherine Kita and Peter. Catherine Kita is an activist for girls' education and founder of Women for Social Change. And joined with me again is Peter Ndalasini, a Women Deliver Young Leader 2020 and the project coordinator for 10 Plus Her Period, Her Pride. It is so great having you guys.
Thank you.
At least 500 million women and girls globally face issues when it comes to menstrual hygiene management. And it's even a worse situation for Malawi, where we have inadequate facilities when it comes to wash, water, and at the same time, we do not have enough facilities in schools, in public places, such as workplaces. And this is a very big challenge for our women and girls. And looking at all this, Kathleen, I want you to explain to me, what does menstrual hygiene management mean?
Thank you, Memory. So to begin with, menstrual hygiene management basically means women and girls having adequate resources to support themselves during their periods. That's looking at water, sanitary products, sanitary pads. So looking at what facilities do we have, for example, in public schools, looking at infrastructure. Do girls have enough change rooms in their schools? Is there running water in schools where girls can support themselves? So when we talk about menstrual hygiene management, basically we're looking at what resources are there to support the girls and the young women during their periods.
And earlier on, when we talk about issues of inadequate materials, we are not only looking at that, but then I want to know, what are the social cultural factors that surround menstrual health? Because these are the issues that we never talk about. I'll start with you, Peter.
All right, one of the socio-cultural factors which is promoting the science in the issues of menstruation is that a lot of people up to date, they still think that menstruation is a taboo, that is. And since it's a taboo, any information which is related to the whole natural process of menstruation and menstrual hygiene is supposed to be shared secretly. And just because the information is shared secretly, a lot of people, they are shy to talk about the issues of menstruation in public or openly, especially with their kids, that is. And the information is not also supposed to be shared with those girls who haven't reached the puberty stage, those who haven't started menstruation, that is.
And just to top up that, so you talked about parents not talking to their children. Why do we have that problem, Kathleen? Why is it that parents do not have that psychological counseling for their children? Why is it silent as well for parents?
I think mostly in Malawi, it's also about to do with culture, how we are raised up. We are raised up in a society where we believe that sexual reproductive issues mostly are not discussed at parent-child level. So you find that most of these issues, we don't discuss them with parents. So growing up, we grow up hearing these issues either from friends or from school, where we don't get the right information.
Yeah, and it's always you get blown away, when you're growing up, you don't really get to know, okay, what's really period?
Exactly.
And there's so many myths surrounding that. Yeah.
And mostly, especially with our parents, when, in most cultures, when a girl grows of age, they tell you that you should go and talk to your aunt, or you should go to an initiation ceremony where they
as a
explain
parent,
what
you're
that is.
distancing yourself from a child.
Exactly. So there's no that free talk between parents and children about what menstruation is.
Yeah. We've talked about so many myths and misconceptions surrounding menstrual health. How does it affect a girl child?
All right, since I've already said that the information which is related to menstruation is supposed to be shared as secretly, that is, and we ain't supposed to share the information to those girls who haven't reached puberty stage, or even men and boys. The girls, they are left in the dark. So just because they are left in the dark, they have got little or no information concerning menstruation. And when the girl child has reached the puberty stage and it is her first period, she's kind of frightened. Blood is something else. When she sees blood for the first time coming out of her body,
it's so scary.
She feels scared that. So she feels like maybe she's dying. But let's assume this girl child was equipped with menstrual hygiene information before reaching the puberty stage. this thing could not
it couldn't happen. And you just reminded me of a story.
Yeah.
One of my colleagues was telling me, you know, when I started my menstruation, I didn't know that it has to be red things coming out of your body. She thought it would be white stuff. So you know how it means already that when she was going into puberty stage, she was not told what periods is.
Exactly. So it goes back to parents not having these conversations with the children, because most girls, when you ask them, when did you know that you're going to have your period, they'll tell you that I started knowing information about period when I had grown up already. So it's like before, when you're 10, when you're 9, you're not told about these things, so you completely don't know anything.
Yeah. What inspired you both? Like, I love the way how you're speaking with passion when it comes to issues of menstrual health. How did you start being activists on menstrual health?
All right, after I discovered that 30% of the girls, they do miss crisis for a period of about 5 days due to lack of sanitary pads, I was so touched, because 30% is a very large number. And as far as a girl child education is actually concerned, it's not a good development. Girls, they are supposed to be kept in school during their menstrual period, because menstruation is a natural process. So after I looked at those statistics, I was so inspired that I need to do something. Especially as a male person, I also wanted to send out a special message to my fellow young men and boys.
That's very unique.
Yes, yeah. That means we can also take part in ending period poverty. It is our responsibility to empower our women and girls.
Oh, absolutely awesome. Kathleen?
Coming to me, I was inspired by my own period, my own first period. So when I first had my period, I was in Form 1, and I think I was also shocked, like, what is this happening to my body? What is it going to be like? When I asked my friends in school, everyone was telling me information which was inadequate. So when I went back to talking with my parents, they sent me to my aunt to say, go and talk to my aunt. Exactly.
The normal chain,
so it was now a chain. So I was living in a situation where, is this something dangerous? Why is it that my mother can't talk to me, but I have to go and talk with someone else? So after she had told me, like, you have grown of age, you'll be going through this and everything, I was like, this is simple. Why do you make the process look so long?
So intense.
Exactly. Yeah. So once I embarrassed it, I started going deep into what is menstruation and how is it going to be feeling, how am I going to manage myself. I looked at a lot of girls have got inadequate information on what menstruation is. So I started then talking to other girls about, it is not this, but it is this. It is not what you're told that you cannot cook because you're doing your periods. It is a different story.
More of like demystifying all the myths around menstrual health.
It's a normal day for you. You just need to take care of yourself.
And getting back to you, Peter, I like the way how you illustrated that, you know, being a man doesn't really stop you from supporting women. And we talked about menstrual health being like a thing that like is a closed thing. You don't talk about it. And being a man, like, I want to get it from your perspective. You already talked about why, but I want to get an in-depth, like, how is it changing you and the men around you?
All right, this whole thing is changing me in such a way that it is boosting my self-esteem in such a way that I'm now able to realize that as far as gender equality is concerned, it's not only the issues of women only. Women, they are not only supposed to push the whole thing, but also men, we also need to take responsibility. Girls and women, they represent the majority of the world population. So by empowering the majority of the world population, it would be very easy to achieve sustainable development goals. If we not empower them, it means the majority of the world population won't be empowered. Automatically, us men will also be affected. So it is very important to empower girls and women in order to achieve sustainable development goals.
Yes, and people don't really get it. It's more of like, when you empower a woman, you empower the whole society. Everyone is empowered around her. And right now we'll take a very short break and we'll get back, and when we get back, we'll carry on and explain how the community can get involved. And we are back, and Peter, we were discussing about how men have to be involved. Is it difficult to bring men on the table?
Yeah, it is really difficult to bring men on the table because a lot of men, they have got this perception that menstrual hygiene issues, they are supposed to be handled by women only and girls. So when they try to speak about menstrual hygiene issues, the kind of message which they think they can try to send out there is that maybe they are trying to like go against our cultural values. So they are kind of afraid. At the same time, they are kind of shy, like people will be laughing at me, why is a man speaking about what menstrual hygiene issues? So it's really difficult to bring men on the table as far as menstrual hygiene issues they're actually concerned. Yeah.
And I want us to talk about positive masculinity. How important is it that we build the new generation of young boys taking part in ensuring that they take part in everything, including in issues of menstrual health? But any of you could.
Yeah, it is very important for men to take part in menstrual hygiene issues so that they will be able to be equipped with enough and right knowledge about menstrual hygiene. Because some of the misconceptions which boys and other girls they have is because we don't have enough knowledge about menstrual hygiene. So you know, they always say that knowledge is power. Once you have knowledge, it's very easy to eliminate misconceptions. Once someone is equipped with knowledge, there's no way they can come up with their own assumptions. So one of the reasons why we've got misconceptions and myths related to menstrual hygiene is that we don't have enough knowledge. So once we have enough knowledge, it will be very easy to eliminate misconceptions about menstruation.
And just to add to what Peter said, you know, this information shouldn't be information that is only available in schools. It should also be something that is available to parents. So this should start from home, where these issues can be discussed at household level, and then going to school where teachers can easily talk about it with the students. So it should be both girls and boys taking part in these conversations.
And you both make sanitary pads, the reusable sanitary pads. How life-changing is it for the young girls in the communities, Catherine?
Reusable sanitary pads are eco-friendly. As you might be aware, Memory, that right now globally the whole world is also struggling with the issue of sustainability in terms of managing plastics and waste. So I went for reusable sanitary pads because they are eco-friendly, like they are washables. So these are really life-changing because once they are used, they can be washed, and then so this makes the girls to easily go to school.
And it's more affordable.
They are affordable because they are reusable for like 2 to 3 years. So if a girl can have those like for 2 to 3 years, and buying them once, for example, once in 3 years, that should be something cheaper.
And for you, Peter?
Yeah, I decided to start teaching girls on how to make reusable sanitary pads since this solution is innovative and is also sustainable. Just like Kathy has already said that reusable sanitary pads, you can use them up to 1 year or 2 years rather than maybe disputing disposable pads. If you give a girl a disposable pad, it means that after maybe 3 months, she'll go back right from the scratch again, facing the same problem. Yet when we have taught her on how to make reusable sanitary pads, it means we have also equipped her with skills. So after the reusable sanitary pads, maybe it's torn, she can go back and use locally available resources on how to make the same pads. At the same time, reusable sanitary pads, they are helping girls to be in school during their menstrual period, which means they are treating their periods with dignity. They can even be proud of their own periods. At the same time, it's like we want the girls not to see periods as a burden, because it's a natural process. Our girls, they are seeing periods as a burden because they don't have access to sanitary pads. So we want girls to treat their periods with dignity.
So that they're able to go to school. They don't have to miss classes.
And also, Memory, on the same, like when we talk about using locally available resources, you might agree with me that sanitary pads are expensive in Malawi, especially when we talk about the disposable ones. Our rural girls cannot afford them. So when we talk about resources that are found right in their home, it's just telling them that you take this type of material and this type of material, and this is how you make it. So it's very easy that girls can still manage them without having to put in a larger cost to do the same.
And we have talked about the culture of sirens, and that's the big thing that is keep on coming out in our conversations. How do we ensure that the government and the organizations that are working in Malawi make sure that we bring awareness on issues of menstrual health? How do we do that?
I think for the first thing is our school education, like our education system has to help us. And you can agree with me that mostly when we are in primary schools, topics of sexual reproductive health, teachers will say, I will teach in the end and then jump and go to another topic. This is because they just don't want to openly talk about this. So I think it should start with the schools where the girls are going into, the young boys are going into.
As much as we understand that being a teacher, it means you're wearing 2 masks. You're a teacher, and at the same time, you're a parent.
Exactly.
So it's like, oh, I can talk about this, you know.
So it should start right there in the schools where parents, like teachers, should be able to say, I can teach this to the girls. I've seen so many schools where we visited, like when you ask the boys or the girls to say, do you know periods, they'll be like, the teacher told me to go and ask my parents what it is. So if it starts with teachers not being able to explain this, it will also be hard for the parents to even go and explain it. So teachers should make it an open conversation where they can
It is there in our curriculum, so it has to be taught.
It has to be taught openly and freely. And it should not be something that should be taught to girls only. It should be both to girls and boys. So information should be available in the schools. Also, I think for organizations, we can come up with comic books that are going to be interesting for the girls and the boys to start the conversations. Because I think one issue that we have is, how do we start these conversations? Because right from home, there's something that we are not openly talking about it. So how do I just go to school and start this conversation?
So there should be something that would spark conversations in our localities.
So make it very interesting for the girls to start the conversations.
Interesting. Peter?
So let me agree with what Kathy has said, that it is high time we need to integrate menstrual hygiene content with the school curriculum. You know, Nelson Mandela once said that education is the most powerful tool which we can use to change our community, to change our country. It is high time we need to use our education system to in ending period poverty. You know, if the girls, they can be taught on how to make usable sanitary pads in schools, it will be very easy, and the solution will be more sustainable. And at the same time, I'm also calling upon the government of Malawi to consider to start distributing free sanitary pads among primary and secondary school girls. And just like Kathy has said that pads, they are so expensive. It is very important to have a tax-free on pads, so that everyone will be able to buy sanitary pads.
And that actually conversation takes me to the next question, where Catherine, you're so much involved in activism on girls' education, and menstrual health is like one of the topics that you're always talking about. How do you think that young people out there can join this movement?
So young people
because people are like, oh, how do I become like Catherine? How do I become like Peter? How do I, become an activist on menstrual health right now?
I think we are all coming in communities where we are part of. It should start in those communities where we are in. So looking at, if I am part of a school that is in my community, I should go and talk about these issues right there. Because as we were saying in this conversation, that most of these conversations, we don't begin them from home. Everyone can start it even from their own home to say, I want to talk with my little sisters, with my little brothers, to be aware of these things. So it should start in our homes. When it starts in our homes, let's go out and champion it until it becomes part of us and part of our community.
Great, awesome. And on a final note, Peter, what is the message for you for young people out there, especially men?
My message to young people out there, especially men and boys, is that men, we are the engines of change. And in terms of biologically, we are physically fit. And just because we are physically fit, some men, they do take advantage of that and start bullying women. So it's high time we need to use our strength in empowering our women. You know, we always say that when you educate a girl child, you have educated the whole nation. So it's high time young men and boys out there, we need to stand together, be on the front line, fighting the rights of women and girls. We need to use our strength in coming up with innovative solutions in empowering our women and girls.
Great. And Catherine, your final note?
On my final note, I think it goes as a request to government and also to other civil society organizations. We should work together and hold hands together that we make reusable sanitary pads free in schools, and especially if they can be provided to all girls in schools for free. And also we should have these conversations most frequently in our schools, just so that we don't make menstruation sound strange, and that's something that is a myth that we can talk about.
Yeah. Great, that's it, guys, and this was a great conversation talking about myths and conceptions around menstrual health and how we can all work together to ensure that issues of menstrual health are widely talked about. This is not a taboo, it's a biological process. Every girl, every woman has to go through this, so it's something that we need to take it up, and everyone, let's work together to ensure that a girl child goes to school, a girl child, her dream is realized.